is Worldview, and thank you for joining us. Today we celebrate Women's Month in South Africa. Every woman and every girl is extraordinary in her own special way. Whether it's being there as a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend or a wife, and whether it's at home, in the office or in the classroom. Women the world over are everyday achievers, and this is something that we all have a responsibility to recognize every day. Every year on the 9th of August, we celebrate Women's Month in South Africa. Inaugurated in 1994 alongside a free democratic South Africa as a public holiday, the day commemorates the 1956 protest led by Lillian Ngoyi, Helen Joseph, Albertina Sisulu and Sophia Williams de Bruin. The protest was meant to rise up against the legislation that required black South Africans to carry the pass, which is the special identification documents, which infringed on their freedom of movement during the apartheid era. Approximately 20,000 women from all over the country took to the streets of Pretoria, many carrying the children of their white bosses on their backs, to stage a peaceful march to the union buildings. However, celebrating women has become a globally recognized day that remembers ordinary women who have played an extraordinary role in the history of their countries and communities. It is also a time to contemplate on the progress made for women's rights and to call for change. In 1911, following a declaration by the Socialist Party of America, International Women's Day was first honored in Denmark, Switzerland, Germany and Austria. The United Nations has recognized a special day for women as a time to call attention to a number of issues facing women. For example, the high rate of pregnancy-related death, the disproportionate number of women killed and victimized by wars, the disparity between men and women in available employment and wages, domestic violence and gender-based violence, to name just a few. Now let's take a look at some of the events around the country in commemoration of the Women's Month in South Africa.
All around South Africa, Women's Day is celebrated today. It is the day to remember the women who were involved in the struggle. We'll talk to some of the women about this day.
I'm sure they think it's those that are wearing the green uniforms or those who are involved perhaps in the branches, the African National Congress branches and all that. This is a day that all of us should come and celebrate. And it's quite disappointing to see that they are watching us from the TV. And it is these women that have been flagged on the scroll there. The ones that I mentioned, those that I mentioned, that those are fallen heroines that we must come and celebrate. And how do we celebrate? We should then take it as an occasion of camaraderie, of friendship, of getting together, of celebrating, and really saying, leaving your status behind and saying, I'm coming to the union building, I'm going to Durban to go and enjoy this together with the women, and really acknowledge the fact that we are celebrating this 20th year of our democracy, celebrating the 60th year of the Women's Charter. Where are they? They are not celebrating it. They are long gone. But they have created that ground for us, that basis for us. It's for all women to come and celebrate.
My name is Monica. I come from Mexico. I am very happy to be here. I came especially for Women's Day. I think that it's very important to be proud as us, as women. Happy Women's Day.
And not only women were present in this event, men too. Gauteng Premier David Makhura called on the men that are abusing women and children to stop their violence. He also called them vicious criminals, and they do not belong to the category of men. They are foreigners to men's world. Following the oppression and crime against women in a number of events in South Africa.
MECs who are present with us today, members of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, heads of departments who are with us, the Speaker of the City of Tshwane, leaders of political parties represented in the Gauteng Legislature, leaders of women's organizations, the Progressive Women's Organization of South Africa in Gauteng, the women's organizations in our province, members of the diplomatic corps, the veterans of the women's struggle who are with us today, ladies and gentlemen, the people of our province, happy Women's Day.
Inga Msileni, reporting for Lovelock News, Women's Day celebration, the Union Buildings, Gauteng.
Now, joining me in studio tonight to talk more about the Women's Day is Tombizodwa Sibanda. Tombizodwa Sibanda is an attorney and a human rights activist. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the show.
Good evening, Yvonne. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and happy Women's Month.
Same to you.
So now, who is a woman?
Well, the word woman is used to define the female members of our society, so it's more a biological aspect. But it obviously is deeper than that. It normally is referred to adult people, like adult females, but it also incorporates children, babies, hence the word women's rights incorporates every female person. But obviously it goes deeper, as I said, with regards to our social enabling, our capabilities, etc. That is a woman.
Okay, sorry, I felt like I cut you off there. Go on.
No, that's fine.
All right, but do you feel that women in today's society have been honored in the deserving manner? Do you think society has become to appreciate their role?
Of course. I'm of the view that society has changed. Back in the day, women's role was to be pregnant and be in the kitchen and cooking. But nowadays, people are realizing that a woman has a role to play, an active, positive role to play in society.
But how much has that really changed, though? I'm interested by the fact that you say that women were seen as those that are in the kitchen, taking care of the babies, the family, and cooking for the husbands when they come back from work. But how has that really changed? Can we actually measure that?
We can't measure it. It's not an exact science. However, we find that laws have changed to enable that change. For me, I think that is the beginning. You find things like Section 9 of the Constitution, giving equality to everyone regardless of their color, of their gender, of their race. And it is such measures that bring about change. It is not the end, it is indeed the beginning, but a change has started. The winds are blowing towards our direction.
Okay. Now, being an attorney, I know very well that after apartheid, it was a concern for the government that there were no female judges at all. 21 years down the line after democracy, after independence, what is the difference now in the law fraternity?
We have more female judges. The exact number, it should be above 30%, if I'm correct. And so there has been a change. There has been a magnificent, a magnitude of a change. And we find that even when you walk into courtrooms now, the attorneys are now female, the magistrates are now female,
well, we're looking
the
at
judges,
one right now.
yes, the judges are now female. So it's not an old boys club anymore. You find women regardless of color. You find them there, and we are forging our way. We're forcing our way into those professions because we can do it. And why not?
All right, in the process of forging your way, how have you been accepted as female attorneys? We were speaking about this earlier before the program started, that somehow there still seems to be some sort of, denial in the society that we can actually have female attorneys.
You find, I've had personally situations whereby I've walked into a police station and someone asks, what are you doing here? In what capacity are you here as? And when you tell them you're an attorney, they're like, okay, and can I see your business card? It's like someone doesn't believe you. It's quite interesting. I always take it as a challenge for myself personally and for other women that we've got a point to prove. Mm-hmm. And we've got a point to prove that we can do it, and we need to put in the extra mile to show that we're able to do it, and even better, regardless.
Mm-hmm. But as a woman to woman, over and above the fact that women need fair employment, fair wages, being accepted in the society in different ways, what really fulfills a woman?
A lot fulfills a woman.
Like what? Name a few.
It's not limited to profession. It's also, I believe, Mark Twain, allow me to quote, says there are two important days in your life: the day you were born and the day you discover why. Every woman needs to know their purpose in life. For me, it's the legal field. That fulfills me. It's my humanitarian work. That fulfills me. For another woman, it can be something else. But the common thread is that you have to know your purpose in life. If you know your purpose, then you'll do everything to fulfill it. And that is where fulfillment comes from.
Okay, now let's bring it back to tradition a little. Do you, in your own opinion, feel that marriage is somehow superimposed on a woman? Society pressures a woman to be married at a certain age. You're expected to have had kids at a certain age. How do you view that, in your opinion? Is it something that is still relevant in today's society? Is it something that actually makes a woman any less worthy, if at all they get to, let's say, about 35 or 36 years without being married, perhaps a certain age, not really stipulated, but a lot of society, tradition, wants to see a woman getting married at a younger age, being a wife, being a mother, and not so much of a professional lady?
Sadly, that is the reality in many African countries. That is the reality. I'm one of the privileged few. I was raised by a father who told me that education is the first thing that I need to get before I get a husband. And getting a husband became so tertiary in my life that my education took a first priority. But you do find situations whereby you attend weddings and they ask you, when are you getting married? And because you're a woman, it's expected that everything else should not be important. What's important is getting a husband, having kids, and building a family. But the modern woman knows that she can have all of that.
The stigmatization, perhaps?
Yes. But the modern woman knows that she can have all that and more. I mean, I'm biologically capable of having kids. That's not hard work. It's not hard work. Any woman can do that, right? But however, I choose to take it a step further. Not only to do the things that I'm biologically capable of, but the things that I choose to do in the process. Who says I can't? I'm a woman after all. I'm superwoman. I can multitask.
Women always multitasking.
Indeed.
Well, that's Worldview celebrating Women's Month in South Africa. Right now, we'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Download King's Chat today on your mobile devices on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still watching Worldview live from our studio in Johannesburg. Now, joining me as well in studio to talk more about the Women's Month is Bonnie Chimanikire. We were waiting for her and she is finally here. Good evening and thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
And happy Women's Month.
Thank you. Happy Women's Month to you.
Thank you very much. Now, I know you have quite a diverse portfolio. Would you like to just tell us a bit more about yourself?
Okay, where do I start? First of all, I'm a soul child. I'm an African woman. I am an activist. I am a founder of a charity organization called Usizo Helping Hands. I'm the founder of a prestigious high tea event called the High Tea, basically. I work as a business coach and a life coach, and that's about it.
Okay, now tell us about this high tea event. It's mainly ladies or it's dedicated to ladies?
It is dedicated to ladies.
To the ladies.
Only. It's that special time for ladies. Unfortunately, due to management stuff, we couldn't have it in August. We wanted to have it in August, but it is now on the 8th of November.
Okay, but how has that somehow reaching out to the women in the society, obviously, towards building that event up in November, how has been the response? What has been the impact?
It has been awesome. First of all, our keynote speakers are women that have changed the course of the future. We didn't just want to bring motivational speakers, but women of substance. One of our speakers is Sophie de Bruyn, who actually led the march in 1956. And she's the only surviving member, and her history is so rich. And she's coming to empower the women to forge a way forward for the future. And our other speakers are?
We have Dr. Janet. She's from Uganda, and she's a psychiatrist and a relationship specialist.
Okay.
So her sole purpose is to give soul food to the women. The high tea will be entitled Empowerment, Fashion and Food.
Oh, right. Beautiful. It seems like there's a whole lot going on there. So what would you say are the aspirations of the 21st century woman?
The aspirations. Well, that's an interesting question because women are quite diverse. We are all different in our own individuality. And besides
Recognition?
recognition
Yeah.
and
Yes.
appreciation.
That's right.
We want to leave a footprint in the world, for the world to know that the 21st century has produced an elite kind of woman.
It's no longer the traditional, not that we don't appreciate what they had back in the days,
Yes.
but just because things have evolved.
Yes.
So this is a different platform altogether.
Everything
now,
is
just
dynamic.
quickly before we round off this, how do you think, I'll pose this question to the both of you, how do you think we can address the social injustices that we find in our society today? 20 seconds each. I'll start with you.
The world doesn't owe us a favor. By virtue of our agenda doesn't mean that we are supposed to be anywhere better than the next person. We need to get up. We need to forge that way. We need to force those doors open. And that will address social injustices. If we sit back, nothing is ever going to change. We are the change. We need to bring that change.
Okay. And quickly to Bonnie.
I also think we need to move away from the biology of being women. We need to move away from the gender, because if you're barren and you can't give birth, that doesn't mean you're not a woman. If you've had a sex change, or if you've lost your breast from breast cancer, it doesn't mean you're a woman. So we need to move away from the stigma and the societal
Limitations.
limitations.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, that was Bonnie and,
Zoe.
Zoe, yes, talking about Women's Month and the value of women. Now, just quickly before we close, in the spirit of celebrating Women's Month in South Africa, I wish to highlight some of the amazing contributions in history, that is, that women of the world have achieved. Whether you are a woman or a man, a boy or a girl, we owe so much gratitude to what the women of the world have done to impact different lives. Now, let's have a look at this. those were women that made a difference and a change here in South Africa. Well, to all the viewers that are watching and all the women that are watching, happy Women's Month. That's all we have time for. Join us again next Thursday as we bring you more on the celebration of the Women's Month in South Africa. Thank you for watching and good evening.